Hello and welcome to Whatever the Weather, another Arsenal podcast. Listener, you join us again. It's the A team, James and Dan,
Hello, mate.
and today you join us on Monday, the 16th of September 2024. Arsenal have just won their third league match in a row at the Toilet Bowl, the Armitage Shanks Arena. It's 3 years on the bounce, 1-0 to the Arsenal.
That's
Life feels
right.
pretty good. Dan, what did you make of that?
Well, bloody fantastic. That's what I make of that. Um, 3 years in a row we've gone there, taken what we wanted and left because we are that damn good. Can't say the game was great spectacle for the neutral, but you know, for us fans, it
Who
was
gives a shit about the
fantastic.
neutral?
Exactly. No one cares. No one cares.
It's
We
in the
got the three
books.
points. Job done it. Yeah, mate. What about you? Where were you?
All I tell you what, so I watched it at home, but all I can say is this: I was struck by this. 4 years ago, we went to the Shank Bank to try and secure a place in the top four, and through a
Didn't go well.
combination of very dubious refereeing, giving a penalty for nothing, a bit of wind, and Rob
Never
Holding getting
again.
sent off, we lost that game. And I think it's safe to say that Mikel Arteta took that personally. He took that defeat personally. And since then, we've gone and made amends for that by winning three league games in a row at their ground for the first time since the late 80s. Even the great Arsene Wenger couldn't manage that achievement. So, yeah, it doesn't happen very often. So we've got to enjoy it. So it doesn't matter the performance. All that matters is the result. And to win three on the bounce there is superb. We did a little preview podcast that in the mid to late 90s and early 2000s, when we were really kind of at our peak in terms of challenging for the title, we didn't collect many wins at White Hart Lane. It was a game that threw up a lot of draws, a lot of score draws. Our record at the Emirates has been very good, but yeah, not so great there. But so to get three wins in a row is absolutely superb, and three different types of wins as well. You think the first one um, back 2 years ago, you think of the performance in the first half, really, really strong, go 2-0 up, and the second half sort of retreat a little bit and under the cosh.
Mm.
Last season, racing to a 3-goal lead, coasting through the game, last 20 minutes, a bit harem scarum. And then yesterday, which was a real suffocating rearguard um, action, smash and grab if you want. Um, I don't care, but yeah, three different performances. And yeah, I think it's just, it's always nice to beat Spurs and to shut them up. But to do it in three different ways in three different seasons is just it's just superb. I'm just loving it. Yeah, great stuff.
Yes, mate. I mean, yeah, on that pod, I have to say, I did fib a little bit. I tried to downplay the game and the result as not being the be all and end all because it's so early in the season. I kind of fibbed. It was a must win, considering especially who we're playing next in the league. Um, Going into the City game, having lost at Spurs would have been quite detrimental, I think. Um, I say it wasn't the be all and end all, but it was pretty damn important. And a lot of people saying smash and
It always
grab.
is, isn't it? It always is important when you
Yeah,
play
and
Spurs. I
funny,
think it's
not
it's
just
never
in,
not, but
yeah,
yeah. I mean, we haven't lost an away game in 2024, which is pretty remarkable.
it's insane. 11 games, 10 wins, one draw, and conceded only three goals, and two of those were in one
Ooh,
game. Do you know what I mean? Like that's just top quality. And everyone's saying smash and grab, blah blah blah. We didn't smash and grab. We walked in, we took what we wanted, and we left. Simple as that. It wasn't smash and grab. We let them play with themselves as much as they wanted, and then we took what we wanted and left. End of story. 3 points in the bag. Off we pop, and up to Manchester next week. It was lovely. As I said, performance wise, I'm not going to go over the top of it, but we did what we had to do. Um, I thought it was a great away performance, if there is, that definition of what an away performance is, going to a difficult place, um, getting the goal and not conceding, basically. So yeah, on that note, I thought it was really good. We will play better at times. We were missing some key players, as we mentioned previously. Um, but yeah, all that matters was the result, especially so early, and especially against the scum. It's so delightful to beat them, honestly. Uh,
Yeah, there's definitely a spring in the step this morning, I must say, and I'm sure for all Arsenal fans around the world, there is a definite bounce this morning as we all go into work or go about our daily lives.
Bit of chest, bit of
Look,
chest. You
yeah,
know what I mean? You stick your
absolutely,
chest out. Oh, that
absolutely.
mascot. Did you see that mascot? What
Yeah,
a
the
ledge.
mascot, the mascot was been well trained by his parents, I must say.
What a
Set him up
ledge.
well to give him what for, and
He's my new hero. He's my new hero.
yeah, I know. I look, it was that. I think. Do you know what? I was going to say that set the tone for the afternoon,
It did.
but I didn't
It
want to
did.
over egg it. But
No,
it probably did.
he
It
went
probably
up,
did.
started pushing all those little scummy mascots, and then you see him puff his chest out when he was with Jorginho. Mate, what a ledge.
He knew. He knew.
Yeah, he's my hero.
Look, let's have a look at the. Let's go through the game then a little bit. So the lineup. So obviously you mentioned there, and we all knew it was a big talking point before the game about players that we'd have missing. I don't think there was too many surprises with the eventual lineup in the end. Obviously, there was news that Zinchenko got an injury pre-game, so Timber stayed at left back, so that the back four was pretty much unchanged. Obviously, Declan Rice was suspended, and as we all thought, Jorginho came in and actually ended up captaining the side
Yeah.
alongside Thomas Partey. And then maybe a little bit somewhat surprisingly, Leandro Trossard was picked in the 10 and Kai Havertz kept his place up nine. What was your pre-match thoughts on that? Obviously, Martinelli as well. He kept his starting place. What were your any kind
Um,
of reservations or doubts in that, or were you quite pleased with the lineup when you saw it?
I thought that's what it was going to be. I didn't think Havertz would stay up top. I thought he'd drop back into midfield and perhaps Gabby Jesus would be in there. Um, so the fact Trossard did start, was a bit surprising. But didn't mind it. Obviously with Partey and Jorginho, we didn't have too much choice in the matter with that.
Mm.
But they're both capable players, very experienced, and so wasn't too worried about that. It was the bench that was kind of like, oh, out of nine subs, we had five teenagers, and a couple I'd never bloody heard of before. So it was
Mm.
like squad depth wise, it wasn't ideal. But then, as I said, the amount of injuries that we had, six first teamers, like that's your bench, if anything. Do you know what I mean? And they're all unavailable. So um the bench was looked a bit lightweight, but then you had those couple of players that can come on, Gabby Jesus, Raheem Sterling, um, and then Jakob Kivior really were the three, you know, first teamers that you would put anything on. But yeah, the lineup was what it was. We had to do our best with what we had, and I think we did that quite well. Mikel is a tactical genius.
Yeah, I think with the lineup, I think you, it lent itself that it would be quite fluid. That, and like you say, Kai Havertz would rotate with Leandro Trossard and drop into midfield, and there'd be a lot of movement there. And I don't think there really was, to be honest, a huge amount of movement. It felt like it was quite rigid. I think one of the things that the team did really well in the setup and the preparation was obviously they realised that they didn't have a strong bench and too much in terms of game changes from a tactical point of view. Maybe obviously Sterling and Gabby Jesus were on the bench and they eventually did both come on, but there wasn't a whole lot else on the bench down there. And I think perhaps the players that started the game realised that they were going to be in it for the majority of the game and that
Yeah.
discipline was real key, not to kind of overrun yourselves, not to overstretch yourselves, and no silly cards. And
Oh,
and the reason we mention that is because obviously it was a very card happy performance from the referee Jared Gillett, an Australian managing a Tottenham side, refereeing a Tottenham side, sorry, managed by an Australian. I'm sure there's no conflict of interest there, but in actual fact, he ended up booking half of the Tottenham players. I didn't think it was a particularly dirty game, but definitely one that I think if you gave the referee an opportunity to give you a second yellow, he would have 100% taken it. So I think the players um, came through that really well with a real disciplined performance. And I think, look, the one thing Tottenham wanted out of that game was to turn it. They knew that all things being equal, they can't beat us. I genuinely believe that. I think all things being equal, they can't beat us. So I think they wanted to turn it into a very up and down, a typical derby game, up and down, harem scarum, real chaotic. A sense of you attack, we attack, and take their chances with that because they are very good on the break. To be fair, they are quite a fluid team, and there's pace throughout. And I think we put in that mid block and snuffed a lot of it out. I was really impressed with that. Obviously, the defensive line, we kept it, we didn't go too high. We didn't really try and squeeze up the pitch too much, but we kept a good distance between that and the midfield. It was quite compact. And then we looked at exploiting their vulnerability in turnovers and breakaways and things like that. And I think we were we controlled the game without controlling the game, if that makes sense. Like we didn't
Yeah.
necessarily control the game in terms of having loads of the ball, but sometimes you can control the game without having the ball. You can kind of dictate what sort of game it is. And I thought we were really, really good. It takes a lot of discipline to do that. And um, I'm kind of getting a little bit ahead of myself of where I perhaps wanted to make this point, but I was going to say that I think it really shows how far Mikel Arteta's come on because my biggest takeaway from that game was how well we're coached and how disciplined we are. I thought we were absolutely tactically superb. That sort of performance to change it up like that stylistically, having obviously lost Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard from the team,
Yeah.
to play that different way, to go away from home to a rival and win in a different way, I think is just a hallmark of an absolutely superb team. The journey we've been on and brilliant flexibility from the manager, something we'd all wanted, perhaps a little to have seen a bit more during the latter Arsene Wenger era. But yeah, I thought it was absolutely superb and a great kind of setup from the coaching team with that because they recognised that we'd lost a lot of energy because Martin Odegaard's probably our best. He's our trigger player, isn't he, for the
Yeah, he's the
press? And
one that.
obviously Declan Rice covers the most ground. So
Hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. It felt to me that Tottenham could have had, you know, 3 days to try and score and they wouldn't have. Do you know what I mean? Like, even though they had quite a lot of the ball, there was no clear-cut chances where you think, oh, they should have gone 1-0 or they should have equalized there or anything like that. It's very hard to get a shot off against this Arsenal team, let alone score. Um, they got reduced to crosses in the box and shots from outside that they couldn't really get near. I thought David Raya was quietly fantastic. He claimed every ball he could, um, calm things down. We didn't want to get involved in all that derby nonsense. We were there to do a job, very mechanical, and that was it. I mean, they tried it with Timber. Timber weren't having any of it. Was never. It shouldn't even. They did the replay of Timber's foul and yellow card, and I couldn't even believe it was a foul. Like
mm.
it was ridiculous, and they were trying to call for a red card for it. It was unreal. And then Vicario tries to get in his face. Timber ain't having any of that. And then Romero tries to get involved because he's a wanker. But no, and then what I loved is the whole team came in and was like, no, no, not today, lads. This isn't happening. But yeah, defensively, I thought we were fantastic. I thought even though Martinelli didn't have his best game going forward, and Saka was quite quiet. I thought defensively they were both fantastic because the way Spurs play with their wingers and their fullbacks, that's where their main threat comes from. So they had to do a lot of work tracking back. Timber was fantastic. Um, Gabriel, imperious, like unbelievable. I mean, I was watching teams that were doing their combined 11s and stuff like that, and they had the audacity, the cheek to try and put Romero or Van der Ven ahead of Big Gabby. These absolutely mental. Like if you ask Spurs fans before the game, and this is really good, I think Jamie O'Hara as well. So Arsenal having the best defense in the league, proven last season, had they wanted to put Vicario in goal, the doggy at left back, Romero, no, Van der Ven in, and Pedro Porro at right back. So they wanted 4 out of the back 5 to be Spurs players. And then they gave us Saliba. Like it's unreal, the delusion in some of these Spurs fans. And that's what makes it even sweeter because and this is the problem. This is why a lot of teams, a lot of fans hate Tottenham, is because they actually think they're bigger than their station. They think they're actually good and like they can do things and win things when it's proven for years and years they're not very good and they can't win things. And they just get above their station at times. And that's why it's such a beautiful thing when we just smack them back down, put them back in their place and go, pipe down, steady on. All right, little bro, you just chill. We've got real business to take care of. So, you know, amazing. Always love beating the scum.
Yeah, well, clearly, and too right as well. Look, a couple of things I just wanted to say. Completely concur with you. I thought I've been quite critical of Martinelli for a while now. I don't think he's, and I still don't think he's in great form. He had that good chance where he broke away free, and it just lacked his finish lacked a bit of confidence. He probably could have. He had time to take an extra touch and
Yeah,
really kind
should have
of
gone more.
set himself or to square it to Saka, and he just sort of snatched at that chance. And that I actually think was probably the clearest chance in the game, to be fair. Um, Certainly
Yeah.
until that point. Um, but yeah, it was. I think going back to the defensive performance as a whole, and all that nonsense about um, combined 11s and all this sort of stuff. Our team is not a team of individuals. It is a team. It's a unit. And yesterday showed that to an absolute T, I think, and you're absolutely right in what you say about Martinelli and Saka. I think the way they doubled up and helped the fullbacks was superb. We had the midfield of the pitch was absolutely on lock, and then the flanks as well with Martinelli and Saka doubling back. Spurs really did run out of ideas, and they were limited to crosses from deep. Um,
Yeah.
I think Solanke had a bit of a looping header that kind of went past the post, but it was
Covered.
nothing. It was something and nothing.
Yeah.
Van de Ven sort of had a glancing header as well, but there was no pace on the cross because they were crossing from poor angles. Because we made them cross from poor angles because we controlled the game, we controlled
Exactly.
the spaces in the pitch.
Absolutely.
It was tactically. I think. Look, I'm not one of these ones that I'm a tactical nerd and know all the different X's and O's about the game, but you could just see that we never looked in any danger. We were calm, and as you said, we had a game plan. I think going forward, attack wise, it does concern a little bit that we weren't able to create too many clear cut chances. And to be fair, a set piece did look like our best way of scoring.
Yeah.
Obviously, we had that Martinelli breakaway, but yet again, we score from a set piece. It's only a problem when that stops working. While it's working,
Exactly. Exactly.
we can ride that train until it absolutely the wheels fall off. Um, yeah, but I think it is something. I think to be fair, that having that kind of ability to score goals in bigger games when it's quite tight from open play or to create something out of nothing, I think that will be something that Mikel will want to work on and kind of develop as the season progresses. But the reality is Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard are huge parts of that. They
Yeah.
play a huge part in that in build up. Obviously Gabriel Jesus as well and Martinelli, and that'll come as the season goes on. But fourth game in the season, it's like you say, it's all about getting the points and yeah, slapping those loudmouths back down again.
Yeah.
And we
Just
did
putting
it
them
superbly well.
wind
Um,
your neck in. Get back in your box, lads.
so look, speaking of defence, so obviously and the goal. So look, 1-0 to the Arsenal. Gabriel is the king of Brazil. Look, you've been a long term fan. I'll be honest, I think, and we've said this on this podcast before, but I think he really came into his own when he had a proper partner alongside him
Absolutely.
in the sense of William Saliba. And as good as Saliba's been, Gabriel has been great for Saliba, and Saliba's been great for Gabriel. They are a
Yes.
proper partnership. But not to leave out Ben White as well. I think we have got a brilliant three out of back four, if not a great back four now. Yuri and Timbers come in, but yeah, I think
Yeah, I didn't think.
Gabriel got his goal, and yeah, he is the king of Brazil. A steady, maybe a little bit of an unsteady start can be quite rash, and there was a few penalties he's given away in his early career and stuff like that. But he has settled down, and he's just that stopper centre half, isn't he? He just wants to head everything, clear everything, block everything. He spoke about after the Aston Villa game where they were celebrating blocks and tackles and stuff, and they just
You'll
yeah,
fall
it's
in
you love to see
love.
it.
I know you will. Our number six is the king of Brazil. Our centre half, he'll give you hell. Our wall at the back is Gabriel.
Ole
Ole,
ole,
ole.
ole ola, ole 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 ola.
I mean, I have been a fan of him since he's come to the club because I can see what he's about. He is a proper defender. And okay, at times he can be rash, and he has got a mistake in him. He's even shown that this season. I don't
Who
think he's
doesn't
had the
know defenders?
exactly.
You can't show me a highlight reel of Tony Adams or John Terry or Rio Ferdinand or Fabio Cannavaro or Alessandro Nesta or any other top defender in history where they have not made a mistake. You just
Exactly
can't.
that.
It doesn't
Yeah,
exist.
you can't exactly that. And so he's been painted with this brush that he's the one that makes the mistakes. Saliba can make mistakes. All centre back can make mistakes. It just is what it is. But he is imperious. Um, Him and Saliba's partnership, we've discussed it many a times, and we're probably going to say the same things over and over. But it needs to be mentioned how bloody good they are. Ben White, I don't think he had the best of games, to be honest. But to be fair to him, was up against their only world-class player, or was a world-class player, in Son. And I think the first half he got a little bit done, misplaced a few passes, but um, Ben White is top quality. I loved his when we scored, just celebrating in James Madison's face, which was beautiful. Um, he is our shithouse, and we love him. But yeah, Urian Timber, I thought was also absolutely fantastic, especially after he got that yellow card as well. Like he was still aggressive, he was still front foot, and Brennan Johnson didn't get a sniff. It was a mismatch. Um, and he hadn't played 90 minutes for over a year. And so to put in that performance was fantastic. Our defense is the best in Europe, and I would put
Whoa,
it. I
that is
put
some praise. The best in Europe.
I think so. If you can name me a better defense, I'm all ears. I'm happy to have a debate about it.
Would you not argue though that until we win a major trophy in Europe or domestically, there'll always be a little bit of a question mark over that sort of statement?
Well, it depends. If you're looking at it from a team basis, then maybe. But if you're looking at defensive records, I don't think there's too many teams in Europe with the same defensive record as us, especially away from home. As I mentioned earlier on, the 3 goals conceded in 2024 away from home, and 2 of those were in the same game. And we actually gave them one of those goals, and the other one was a penalty. It's, you know, we have a top quality defense, and it's so reassuring that even when we're not playing at our best, we know we're not going to concede. We have a platform, we have a base, we know we can defend well, and then we can, go off that platform, go off that base, and grab a goal when we can. And set pieces, as you say, as long as they're working, doesn't matter. It's another weapon in the arsenal, pun intended.
Yeah, look,
Like,
can I just come in there and just say that I mentioned obviously um, bit tongue in cheek, but taking it personally after losing there a couple of years ago or 3 years ago now in the league.
yeah, it was
Do
a
you
long time
think
ago, mate. I'm
do
struggling to
do
remember it
do
now.
you think that performances like that aforementioned game, losing the 2 goal lead at Anfield a couple of years ago, um, losing to Man United the season before last 3-1 when we really bossed the game but were a little bit open at the back.
Yeah.
Do you think Mikel has kind of really, well, let's call it as it is. Do you think he's learned from that and has decided that in those away games, defense is the best form of attack, and that if you keep it solid, we've always got a chance of nicking something? Do you think is
Yeah.
that what we've seen over a period of time, that he's just decided that, what, if you give away cheap goals, trying to chase goals,
Yeah.
being open, we've said before about trying to be perfect to try and compete with Man City. Is this the way of doing it? We've seen and we've mentioned before, or everyone's aware of how Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp, um, their swashbuckling style, but it only resulted them in one title. And although they took City down to the line, was it two or three times they took it to the final day,
Yeah.
which is only one more than us, by the way. Um, they don't have anything to show for it, really. And do you think that Mikel just thought, it's a case of not leaving anything to chance?
Yeah, I think that's clear. He's invested heavily in that defense. He's made changes to it strengthening an area of strength is something that champions do, like bringing in Calafiori. Um, all right, we had our question marks about our left back, but we did have Yuri and Timber coming back. But he saw the opportunity to strengthen the defense even more and bring in Calafiori because he knows that's the base, that's the platform that we have. And then going forward, okay, we may be a little bit lighter, but he trusts the quality that we have. Um, he knows we can score goals, but to do that, we need a steady base. And as I said, man for man defensively, our squad depth, especially in defense, is really good. Maybe not attacking, so what, we can have that debate we have done. Did we do enough in the transfer
Mm,
window? Blah, blah, blah. But we know defensively we are solid. And if you don't concede goals, you don't lose games. That's just,
yeah, that's
that's
it.
it.
That's it.
It
Well,
is.
it puts us in great stead, doesn't it, for what is to come, not only in the remainder of the season, but also in the remainder of the week. Two more away trips to come. Obviously, Atalanta on Thursday, which is very weird to say a Champions League game is going to take place on a Thursday. And then obviously Man City at the Etihad on Sunday. Um, Look, 3 Point Lane is 3 Point Lane, and to win there three times in a row is absolutely superb. And I think, yeah, um, we've all enjoyed that, Gooners. We've all enjoyed that, and don't ever not enjoy it either.
Soak it in. Soak it in. Inject it, mate. Honestly, it is
Exactly.
never going to get old, beating the scum. So, but yeah, as I said, it was an important game. We didn't want to go into City having lost that game. That would have put a lot of pressure on that game. It's not to say there's still not pressure on it. And but if we went there and won now, if we go to the Etihad and win, as I said, just give us the title now, mate, because it's done. We
Well, look, we'll talk a bit about that a little bit more after this break.
We hope you're enjoying listening to Whatever the Weather, another Arsenal podcast. Please feel free to leave us a review. Any feedback at all would be much appreciated. And also follow us on social media. We're at Instagram, we're on Threads, and we're on Twitter at WTW1985.
Okay, so we're back from the break. So look, we've spoken a fair bit about 3 Point Lane and winning at the Armitage Shanks. So look, we've got a couple of big games coming up in the remainder of the week as we look to kickstart the season now and really get stuck into things now that godforsaken international break is long behind us. So starting up with a trip to Italy on Thursday. As I said, strange to be playing in the Champions League on Thursday, but Atalanta, um, the current Europa League winners. What do we think of that then? Many changes, same team. You mentioned before our bench is looking a bit thin. Um, can we make any changes? Can we kind of mix it up a little bit? What are your thoughts? Obviously, the first game of the Champions League.
Yeah, it's kind of snuck up upon us. I think I haven't even been thinking about Atalanta, if I'm honest. It's kind of sprung upon me, to be fair. I was just focused on beating the scum, which we have done now. Um, and then kind of City, I haven't really given much thought to Atalanta, but just off the top of my head, Deckers will be back, which is a good thing, be much needed away from home. Um, I think maybe you do drop Havertz back and put Gabby Jesus uh up top with that pace, and I think he brings a lot. Um,
Start for Raheem Sterling.
well, it depends. Saka did come off. He didn't look comfortable, and he actually had to come off with an injury, didn't he? So hopefully that's not too serious. But I think Raheem the Dream could make a start. I think if we need to rest Bukayo and try and make sure he's fit for Sunday, because for me that's a very important game. But yeah, so we'll see how it goes. I do want to say I thought Kai Havertz also had a really good game and covered a lot of ground against Tottenham, and he had to do a lot of the work that Odegaard would have done. I'm really like I have now fully converted. I am a Kai Havertz fan. There's no doubt about it. Um, all the doubts have gone. And so I expect him to start as well on Thursday.
Yeah, it's a strange one. Obviously, in this new format, we've got more. There's more games to play. Obviously, it's a league form. It's a very look. I know
Yeah.
people have tried to explain it 100 times before, and they'll try 100 times again. And until you actually see it and are in it, no one's really going to know what's going on. But Obviously, we play more
No, mate, we
games.
all know you're just a Wally. That's what it is.
Fair enough. That does ring true on many fronts. But yeah, look, my point was we play a lot more games. So obviously we've got coming up following Atalanta, we've got PSG at home, um, Shakhtar at home, Inter Milan away, um, Sporting Club de Portugal away, um, and then Monaco at home. It just goes on and on and on. And then we
Yeah,
have Dynamo Zagreb at home.
yeah.
Finally, ended by at the end of January, we're away to Girona. So I feel like there's a lot of wiggle room in those teams where if we were to potentially chuck a game or lose a game, bearing in mind we've got bigger fish on the horizon,
Oh,
I don't know that would really come back to haunt us.
mm.
Basically, what I'm saying is, do we bring the changes on Thursday and prioritize everything into laying one big glove right on Man City's nose, bearing in mind that they are already a couple of points ahead of us? If they win on Sunday, they will go 5 points clear.
Yeah. I see your point, and it if there was a game, it's annoying because now the fixtures become very congested. We'd literally be playing 3 games a week now until January or something like that. It's a lot of games. Um, and yeah, do you know what? I would probably take a draw at Atalanta right now just to make sure we're fresh and good to go for Sunday, really. Because as I said, even though it's not the be all and end all on Sunday, it would be such a psychological blow to City. If we can lay that glove and put them down even, it's like yeah, it would be really good.
Well, on they play conversely, they're at home to Inter Milan on Wednesday, so they get an extra day's rest as well, and they're at home.
Yeah, that's annoying, isn't it?
Would that factor at all in
Mm.
thoughts?
Uh, there's nothing we could do about it essentially, and I don't think Mikel's one for um making wholesale changes in an important game in the Champions League. I think you'll see a similar team, if not the same team, that we played on Sunday. I'll tell you what
Do you think
though,
it's a little bit of we're a big team? This is what big teams do. You play your best team, you go and win, and you roll
yeah,
it on. And it's
yeah,
he had that attitude with Bukayo Saka, didn't he? When a lot of people, Keith being one, me as well, to be fair, was saying that give Bukayo Saka a rest, and he was very much like, no, top players play every game, and
yeah,
he reeled off some stats about. Well, I think he even went as far back to talk about Thierry Henry when he was at Arsenal, but he really focused on like Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, and was like, what if Real Madrid play or Barcelona play, they play,
yeah, and
and
it's
if
true, isn't
Arsenal
it?
play, Bukayo Saka plays, and I think, yeah, that's obviously a big part of it. So do you think? Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with you. I don't think there'll be much rotation. Obviously, I think the goalkeeper will stay the same. I don't think, although Neto is an experienced keeper, I'd be very surprised if Neto came in.
No,
Um,
no, no, no chance.
I think he's more likely to play against Bolton in the League Cup the
Yeah,
following week. But I think, and we don't have the luxury of having Aaron Ramsdale there, so I think that will stay the same. Um, in the back four, apart from Jakub Kiwior, there's not really a huge amount of other options there. Um,
it,
Potentially, I wouldn't be surprised actually if Kiwior did play left back purely because Timber's, you know, it's his first run after an injury, and
mm,
usually players when they come back after an injury, they pick up a niggle somewhere along the line, and it might
yeah,
just be the run of games might be a bit much for him because I know he played in the international race as well for Holland, so maybe that might be something. But look, I mean, all the quotes and stuff say that he's rehabbed the knee really well and he's been absolutely fine and feels stronger than ever. So maybe not. I think midfield, like you say, Declan Rice is a shoe-in to come back in. Whether he'll take the place of Partey or Jorginho or Trossard probably remains to be seen. That to me is quite an interesting point.
yeah. Jorginho for me, it will probably be the one that drops out because just playing two games so close together for him is probably not advisable. He played 90 minutes on Sunday. I don't think he had the best of games. I think he got a little bit bullied at times. Um, but yeah, I think asking him, but then saying that asking Partey to play two games so close together could be detrimental. But he's
Mm.
played every game essentially this season. He gave 2 90 minutes for Ghana as well, so he's actually consistently playing, which is
Is he
good.
playing himself into fitness?
Yeah, and so that's a good thing. So I do think Deckers comes in for Jorginho. But as you said, big teams don't really rotate, especially in big competitions. So you'll probably see the same team, if not maybe one or two changes max. But as you say, you'll see a lot more changes in the Carabao Cup because again, it's not a proper competition. So, um, but what I did like though, I know I keep on bringing back the Spurs game because it was beautiful, but Ethan Nwaneri, I thought had a good cameo, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in the Carabao Cup because I think
Yeah,
that's where he'll get.
played in sort of false nine, didn't he, as he came on?
Yeah, showed some really nice touches and some good passes, and yeah, I think he'll start in the Carabao Cup. I don't think he'll get too many minutes Champions League wise or against City. But what I did love was that, sorry to go back again, but 1-0 up at Spurs, you think, oh, you shut up shop, right? He didn't. He brought in Ethan Nwaneri. He didn't bring on Jakub Kivior. Do you know what I mean? That's the confidence he has in
Yeah,
Ethan Nwaneri. And so I think we're going to see a lot more minutes from Ethan Nwaneri because I think Arteta has trust in his ability. Um, I do think that. So you may see him in the Champions League. You may see him on Sunday.
yeah, I think that's a really good point because, and again, when I said learning from previous seasons, obviously when we threw away that 2 goal lead at Anfield, he did bring on Jakub Kiwior in that game, didn't he? So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, not overloading it too much defensively and really retreating and surrendering possession. Um, I think that you could. I would look. I wouldn't be at all surprised if the same 11 plus Declan Rice. Sorry, so I do think it would be Declan Rice for Jorginho. I wouldn't be at all surprised if that is the only change. But equally, it wouldn't also surprise me if Raheem Sterling got a start or Gabby Jesus got a start.
Raheem the Dream.
Yeah, I could see that happening just to kind of freshen it a little bit. Maybe for Trossard coming out. As I said, Kai Havertz looks a little bit like he's going to have to put another shift in on Sunday. We know that. The thing is, Atalanta are a really good team, a really well coached team. I think, I listened to a few other podcasts, shamedly, but a couple of ESPN podcasts, Gabriel Marcotti and Julian Laurent, and they were saying that they think that pound for pound across Europe, Atalanta probably are the best coached team. Gianpiero Gasparini, the job he's done there,
Yeah.
in terms of the budget they have, it's a
Hmm.
lot of players they've got who are kind of like rejects or not had great story careers. They've been around the block a little bit. Adamola Lookman is a big player for them, and it was kind of like how they've kind of come through to win the Europa League. And of course, they beat what was previously thought to be the best coach team in Europe in Xavi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen in the final. So they're no mugs. So it's going to be quite a tough game. So I think, yeah, it could be one where I think we've just got to come through it with no injuries, see where we're at. And then I think we've just got, whatever the result, look, if it's a win, brilliant, it boosts the confidence. If it's a draw, we take it. Even if it's a loss, you just brush it off. And I think, yeah, then it is all eyes on City because I think based on what I've said, if we were to be 5 points behind them, I think you know what the narrative's going to be, and it would be a bit of a psychological blow. So I think we've got to kind of go to City with the best shape we can possibly be in to try and take something.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it, especially as myself and you will actually be there. So,
Yeah. It's good coming clutch there.
uh,
Yeah, tickets to the away at the Etihad. So yeah, look, we'll hopefully right a few wrongs. Obviously, having been there in the FA Cup game a couple of years ago where we lost 1-0. But
that
yeah,
was so good though,
we
wasn't it?
had
The
tickets for
atmosphere.
the COVID game. It was
Yeah,
cancelled obviously after Mikel picked
yeah.
up COVID. So yeah, we've got a bit of history there with Man City away. Um,
Do love an away game though, mate. The atmosphere,
Yeah,
like
it
the
doesn't.
fans, the away fans are just like different gravy. It's just constant singing,
Yeah,
constant jubilation. Oh,
yeah,
mate,
get behind
I'm
the
really
team for
looking
90
forward
minutes.
to it.
No, yeah, it'd be a great afternoon, hopefully, and yeah, especially if we can get a result there. And I think you know what I back us to do that. I think Mikel will know what he's got to do for us to get a result, and we'll play to get a result. And look, if we have to put men behind the ball and come away with a 0-0 again, then that's what we'll have to do. Um,
Yeah, I, I,
I
I
think it's
hope he
about
doesn't
it's
though.
about it's I think it's about stopping City in their tracks a little bit, disrupting their momentum, and keeping ours going, and just keeping this run ticking over. Um, I
I
mean, look,
mean,
we'll talk a lot more about that. Maybe we might even talk later in the week on it or post game. But for the moment, I think we've just got to revel in what was a magnificent 1-0 to the Arsenal.
yes, mate. We'll have some of that all day.